Hi! In this video, you will learn how to write and read an Arabic word. So, let's watch together.
To learn the first letter, we will start by drawing a boat with its oar, like this. Boat with its oar. Then we will make a small change. We will remove this part of the oar and leave only the end bit of it. It looks like a dot. This is the first letter of the first group. Remember, we are not talking about the first letter in alphabetic order. It is the first letter in the first group. This letter is called Ba in Arabic. Ba. Ba, which corresponds to the letter B in English. Now, as we have said earlier, that letters are written in four forms according to their position in the word. This form is the isolated form of the letter Ba. To get the initial form, we will make a very small change. We will cut the end part of the boat. Why? Obviously, because in this way, we can connect the letter to another one that follows it. Remember that the second letter will be here because Arabic is written and is read from right to left. Now we have the second form, the initial form of the letter Ba. The medial form is very easy. It is exactly like the initial form. The only difference between them lies in this little dash, which makes the letter connectable to the one before, which is here from the right. In this way, the letter can be connected from right and from left. So we have seen the isolated form, the initial form, the medial form, and finally we will see the final form. This one looks like the isolated form. Usually, the isolated form looks like the final form. The only difference lies in this dash, which makes the letter connectable to the one before. So, this is the final form. Now we will try to repeat together. We have seen the letter Ba, a boat with the end part of the oar, which is the dot. Boat, B. In this way we can remember this letter, the first letter of the word boat. To get the initial form, we should remove the end part of the boat. In this way we can connect it. The medial form exactly looks like the initial form. The only difference lies in this dash from the right. And the final form, which seems exactly like the isolated form, the only difference lies in this dash from the right. Now, to learn the second letter in the first group, we will draw the same boat. But this time, instead of the oar, we will put a table on the boat. It seems like a table or a letter T, this way. Now, with a very small modification, we will get our letter. Here, we will remove these two lines In this way, we will have only 2 dots. Note, please, this is the letter ta in Arabic. Ta. It also looks like a smiley face. Then this is the letter ta, which corresponds to the letter T in English. But this is the isolated form, as we know. To get the other forms, we will use the same approach that we used with the letter ba. To get the initial form, we will remove the end part of the isolated form. In fact, the only difference between the letter ta and the letter ba lies in the dots. Here it is. This is the initial form of the letter ta. Well, to get the medial form, we will put this small dash at the right side of the letter, which makes it also connectable to the letter before. Now, it can be connected to the letters from the 2 sides, from right and from left. The final form seems exactly like the isolated form. The only difference, as we have said earlier, is this dash, which makes the letter connectable to the one before. This is the final form of the letter ta. Now we will try to repeat together. We have learned the second letter from the first group. It is the letter ta. To get it, we drew the boat, but instead of the or, we drew on it a table or the letter T. Then we removed these lines except the 2 dots. In this way, we have got the isolated form of the letter ta in Arabic. Boat with a table T. To get the initial form, we removed the end part of the boat to make it connectable to the following letter. The medial form, it looks like the initial. We should only put this small dash at the right side of the letter. After that, we have seen the final form, which seems exactly like the isolated form. The only difference, as we said, is this dash, which makes the letter connectable to the one before. Now we have reached to the last letter in the first group. To write it, we will draw a duck. Follow me, please. This looks like the letter S, like this. Then we will extend it like this. We have this shape. It seems like a duck. Now we should draw the paws. In fact, they are the dots. This letter is called ya in Arabic. Ya. Ya. It corresponds to the letter Y in English. Listen to the pronunciation, please. The letter is called ya, but the pronunciation, the sound of this letter is E. E. Please note that we need to distinguish between the name of the letter and its sound. For example, the letter A in English is called A, but the sound is A. The same thing in Arabic. Then we have here the isolated form of the letter Ya. Again, the initial and the medial forms of the letter Ya are similar to the initial and the medial forms of the other letters. in this group, with the exception of the dots. Then, this is the initial form with 2 dots underneath. And this is the medial form. It looks like the medial form of the letter ba, ta, tha, nun, except the dots. Here we have 2 dots underneath. This is the medial form of the letter ya. They are similar to the others. The final form is also similar to the isolated one. The only difference is this curve from the head of the duck, which makes it connectable to the letter before. This curve. Now we will repeat together quickly the writing of the letter ya. We drew a simple duck. This is the head, like the letter S. Then we will extend the curve in this way. This is the isolated form of the letter ya, with 2 dots underneath. The initial and the medial forms are similar to the initial and the medial forms of the other letters in this group. This is the initial ya, and this is the medial one. Then we have the final ya, which is similar to the isolated form, with the difference of this curve. To apply what we have learned, here are some examples. In the first example, here we have 3 letters, all of them in the isolated form. And we will make a word from these 3 letters. This is the isolated form of the letter ba, the isolated form of the letter ya, and here the isolated form of the letter ta. The letter ba is the first letter, so we will write it in the initial form because it's the first letter. So this is the initial form of the letter ba. The letter ya is the second letter, so we will write this letter in the medial form. This is the medial form of the letter ya. And finally, we have the letter ta. It's the last letter, so we have to write it in the final form. This is the final form of the letter ta. Now we will put them together to make our word. This is the initial form of the letter ba. It's connected to the medial form of the letter ya. And this is the final form of the letter ta. Oh, this is our word. Now we have to read this word. Well, to get the right pronunciation, we should put this sign above the letter ba. This sign is the short vowel, a. To transliterate it, we will use the letter A in English. I'll explain the vowels later, but here, to get the right pronunciation of this word, we should know the pronunciation or the sound of the sign a, the short vowel a. Now we will transliterate these letters. Under the letter Ba, we will put the letter B. And to transliterate this sign, we will put the letter A. It's a short vowel, A. And under the letter Ya, we will put the letter Y. And finally, under the letter Ta, we will put the letter T. Now, we will try to read this word from right to left. Bait, 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 which means house or home. House, bait. Very good. You will find further information on our website www.paxsalam.com.